Middlesex slipped to a heavy 86-run defeat to London rival Surrey in their final Friends Life T20 home match of the season, being dismissed for their lowest ever score in this form of the game in front of a crowd of 28,000 at Lord's. Neil Dexter won the toss and decided to have a bowl first, and he didn't have to wait too long for a first wicket, as Stephen Davis was brilliantly held at deep backward square by Joe Denley off Gareth Berg. Davis's opening partner Jason Roy then fell in the same over, although he was not too happy about the LBW decision, which left Surrey on 17 for 2 in the third over. It was a great start for the Panthers, who still had to be mindful of a very short boundary on the mound stand side of the ground, one which Vikram Solanki utilised superbly in the fourth over by driving Kyle Mills for a maximum. Kevin O'Brien, a man who once scored 100 in this competition against Middlesex, also started in a positive fashion, as the Irishman so often does. This shot off Gurjit Sandhu travelled high into the crowd, the biggest to ever watch a domestic T20 game. O'Brien looked in the mood once more, helping his side to a score of 60 for 2 at the end of the power play overs, O'Brien racing into the 30s. He then swept Dexter over the bigger boundary for a second six, and it was becoming clear rather quickly that he was a man the Panthers needed out, and soon. It wasn't just him, however, who was starting to cause some damage. Vikram Solanki, a late replacement for Ricky Ponting, put Ravi Patel over the ropes as the Surrey 100 was posted in just the 10th over. O'Brien then smacked his third six to get to a scintillating half-century off only 22 balls, 5 fours also included in that. Thankfully, he was soon out, bowled by Patel for a fantastic 54, leaving with his side at a good position on 107 for 3 in the 11th over. It was the start of an excellent fight back from Middlesex. Dexter plucked out a sensational catch off Patel to get rid of Solanki for 37. And then Gary Wilson was stumped by Adam Rossington for 4 to leave Surrey on 116 for 5 with 2 new batsmen at the crease in the 13th over. So the next stage was going to be crucial, and it belonged to Ansari Mahmood, who welcomed Mills back into the attack in the 17th over with another maximum, the 150 then being secured in the same over. Zafar Ansari also began to look good, pulling Berg for another 6, the short boundary being pummeled by the Surrey batsmen late into their innings. But Berg delivered a superb last over which went for only 4 runs and included the run out of Mahmood for 35, Rossington completing the job. While John Lewis was yorked first ball as the visitors ended their 20 overs on 178 for 7, Patel taking 3 for 28 and Berg 3 for 37 from their 4 overs each. It was a competitive score, made more so by the early wicket of David Malan, the country's leading run scorer in T20 cricket this year. He mistimed Mahmood to Jay Dernbach without scoring at the start of the second over. Worse followed when Denley was well taken by Lewis at third man off Chris Tremlett, a wicket which left the Panthers on 16 for 2 in the third, a similar start to their opposition. But Paul Sterling was still there and he smashed Tremlett for an enormous 6, which carried right out of the ground onto St John's Wood Road. Only a fielder down the street had a chance with that, but in the ground, Surrey were on fire, and O'Brien then pulled off a fine catch to remove Adam Voges for a duck, with a score on 25 for 3 after 3. And before another run had been added, Sterling on 19 cut Mahmood to short third man to leave the Panthers in real trouble. A partnership was needed to be developed by the returning Owen Morgan and Rossington, but the Irishman thrashed a cut off Lewis with real power, only to be superbly held at backward point by Roy. One excellent catch had followed another, and Middlesex now had it all to do. Alas, Rossington then offered a much simpler chance to depart for 5 at 40 for 6 in only the 7th over. It was all just about over, but no one had told Berg that. He went after Gareth Batty and took 16 runs off his first over, including this 6 to take the target down to 104 of the final 10. But just as they were fighting back, Middlesex lost Dexter in the 11th over, LBW to Ansari for 3 at 77 for 7. Berg on a rapid 33 was then bowled by Batty's well-disguised slower ball, and a rather large defeat was now in the offing. And when Patel was deceived by an Ansari grubber, it was all about waiting for the inevitable. And that came in the 15th over when Mills was stumped off Batty as the Panthers slumped to 92 all out to lose by 86 runs, and that was their lowest ever T20 score. It was, of course, a disappointing effort which now leaves the Panthers' hopes of qualifying for this season's quarter-finals hanging by a thread. One thing is for certain, they need to defeat Hampshire at the Ageas Bowl next Wednesday.